Let's tell you that today at the National Counterterrorism Center, on behalf of the Office of the National Security Advisor, they've officially presented 2 kidnapped victims who have been successfully rescued through the non-kinetic strategies in addressing security challenges across Nigeria. It was at a short press conference before reuniting the victims with their family where we saw the national coordinator of the National Counterterrorism Center, Major General Adamu Laka, saying that the life of every Nigerian is priceless. It is that matter which leads us to a major conversation tonight, and it's about Nigeria's Plateau state, where we saw a fact-finding committee submitting its report indicating an investigation into 2 decades of violence, which has now produced a fact-finding panel report with some troubling findings, some of which include that more than 11,700 people have been killed and over 400 communities attacked between 2001 and 2025. But Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State has pledged that the recommendations will be fully implemented and shared with President Bola Tinubu and security agencies. Well, with nearly 12,000 lives lost, a staggering toll of violence in Plateau State over the last 2 decades or so, where does this leave the people of the state of insecurity in that region and the lives and livelihood of the average person? Let me speak with one of the representatives of the people of Plateau State. I'm being joined tonight by Honorable Yusuf Gagdi. He's a member of the House of Representatives. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, my brother.
Those are troubling figures there. About 12,000 people, about 400 communities that have been affected in just about 2 decades. And some of the communities under your constituency are also deeply affected.
Yeah.
What do you make of that report?
Well, it's very unfortunate that a state you belong to, a state that I'm proud of, a state that any day, anytime is where is my home, will be on the front banner of newspapers regarding to killings, regarding to insecurity. I would have wished to discuss Plateau prospect, but unfortunately, this is where we are. It is tormenting, very, very tormenting. And about the report, the only thing I will say is to commend the people that were put in place to go and make these findings, and to hope that they have made far-reaching recommendations that will add value to the livelihood of Plateau people. And for anybody at this time, Sean, to say anything about that report, you will be economical with the truth. Until and unless you have the opportunity or the privilege of going through the report to see what the committee investigated and what their findings are, then we will begin to talk about that report. For the governor, again, to say he will implement, definitely he must have read the report and feel comfortable with this. But to some of us, until and unless I read the report, then I will make my point of view very clear about the report and its attendant recommendation as well as its implications.
There are also far-reaching outcomes from that report, one of which includes that there are situations where the source of the attacks, say, have come from neighboring states and communities. States like Nasarawa, Kaduna, Bauchi, and Taraba have been mentioned as a state where the attackers cross from.
Yes, definitely. At least you are not even talking to someone that is completely ignorant of the security situation in Plateau. When I was Deputy Speaker of Plateau State, I was Chairman Special Committee on Peace, Security, and Reconciliation. I don't think there is this flashpoint, there is this end community that have been witnessing these attacks, killings, that I have not visited personally and that I have not interacted with either their community leaders or religious leaders in that place. If the reports say that the attackers come from neighboring states, it does not mean that, in my opinion, and in my own knowledge of the Plateau situation, particularly regarding to crisis, that it is the people of that neighboring state that attacked Plateau. No. I am just coming back from my village, from my constituency, from Garga area in Kanam local government, the place that I once make reference to you here, that in one day over 147 people were killed by bandits. I visited all the communities, including the places that those people were killed the day before yesterday. I went because another thing happened. Traditional rulers, third class, senior village heads were being assassinated, were being kidnapped and killed on a daily basis. Just day before yesterday, one was killed. Yesterday, one was kidnapped. So, if you look at the nature of Plateau, particularly the area I represent, we boundary state like Bauchi, we boundary state in Kanam, we boundary state like Taraba, Wase, Taraba, in Wase and Kanam local government. And there is a forest reserve situated within this area where the bandits from northwest or northeast, particularly from Zampara axis, have completely or 50% relocated to that forest reserve that was lying there. Farmers are not allowed to farm on that forest reserve in the name of the fact that it's a reserve. So it becomes a safe haven for bandits. It becomes safe haven for criminals. It becomes safe haven for kidnappers. So those criminals that have some of those forests, particularly that game reserve, which is situated along Taraba boundary too. Part of the game reserve is from Taraba. So if the criminals are in those game reserve, they plan their attack, coordinated and attack civilians in Plateau. So the report is right to say that some of those attacks are coordinated from the neighboring state.
If there is, and partly some of who have led in this country could be held complicit in some of these issues, because on one hand, you are the chair of the committee on Navy.
Armed Force Committee.
Armed Force Committee.
Yeah.
And those who were saying, under Bajabi Amila as speaker, there was summit on security.
Yes.
Under these these present National Assembly, there are talks about how to end insecurity in Nigeria, issues of state policing. You've been former deputy speaker. How can we run a country where innocent people are being killed on a daily basis and we say we do not have a solution? What exactly is going wrong?
I do not belong to school of thought that said we do not have solution. We have solution.
But
what I said clearly, and I will keep on saying, is the fact that everybody has his role and responsibility. I am a parliament, and I cannot be exonerated in terms of security complacency. Whenever and wherever there is attack, issue of insecurity within the four angles of Nigeria, no parliament can exonerate himself, because what did the Constitution ask us to do? The Constitution says that as a lawmaker, you are to make laws. And it does not stop there. It says for peace, order, and good governance. Then the primary responsibility, in addition to oversight engagements that the Constitution donates such powers to the Parliament, it only first called the Parliament to make laws for peace. So if there is not peace, it means something is wrong in the law you are making.
Or you have failed in your duty.
But the question is,
because if you have not been able to achieve what the Constitution guarantees that you should do,
yes,
that means there's a failure somewhere.
Yeah, if something is wrong, it doesn't mean there is a failure, Shehu. But let me come, I will get there. If I am making laws for order, for peace, and for good governance, who is implementing such laws? And that is why when you listen to me in my previous conversation, even with you and in other media platforms, I have always talked about National Assembly passing hundreds and thousands of resolutions regarding to insecurity. Are those resolutions being honored and respected and implemented? That is one thing. Secondly, you are to do budget. We have the responsibility of providing resources to the security agencies to make sure that they function maximally. I will say this, Sean, without any fear of political misrepresentation, that the previous administration and the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have done it best in providing logistic resources to the security agencies to function.
Including welfare and funding.
That I can tell you, welfare and funding, perfectly I can tell you. I am aware that the budget lines that I go through it for the armed forces on daily basis, where you see their salaries, you see their regular allowance, you see the non-regular allowance. If I go deep into having a conversation on that, you will know that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have done.
What then is missing?
What is missing, in my own perspective, is agencies of government. Blame, I will be the last person, not because if I see what to blame President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I cannot blame him, I will. But at this point, I have not seen it. He is the president. He has provided the budget proposal to the National Assembly by what? Strengthening financial allocation to the security sector. And he has done that. It's remaining for the agencies that are responsible for ensuring that those security agencies implement what the president have assented to do their job. I have said this on the floor, and let me say it here. When have you heard, if not recently, that I commend the Chief of Defense Staff for issuing a very strong statement that sounds nice in my ear, and I am monitoring the implementation of that statement, where he said that wherever there is any breakdown of law and order under any command, the command will be held responsible. Prior to Christopher Musa, Chief of Defense Staff, President Chief of Defense Staff, tell me, anybody within the security sector, and again what you are saying about the National Security Advisor, I don't care the problem that people have against him. I can say that with my interaction as a chairman of the armed forces and the effort being made by the Office of the National Security Advisor, he is doing wonderfully very well. Its security matter is not what can be taken on the street to be discussing about. But let me tell you something. If you don't hold strategic security commandants accountable for breakdown of law and order within their own jurisdiction, it will continue to happen unabated.
This takes me to the performance of this government in the eyes of the Nigerian publics. And you look at it, on one hand, there are promises being made. Securing this nation and making the lives of the Nigerian people. And you are a chieftain of the APC.
Yes.
And the Nigerian people will be asking questions. Is your party really living up to expectation? Interestingly, your very good brother and friend is now the national chairman of the APC. The pressure is now mounting. Opposition is rising and raising an alarm that this nation is on a dangerous path because your party seems not to be availing Nigerians with the performance of office has been promised at the campaigns.
Sean, what do you expect the opposition to do in an ideal democracy, or even in an unideal democracy? Is to continue to mount pressure and say all conspiracy theory just to make the government look like as if nothing is being done. But before responding to that question, let me answer the last question that you asked me. Community policing regarding to security before I come into the performance of this government. I am not an advocate of community policing.
What about state policing?
I am not an advocate of state policing. I support community policing. We have a police act that was repealed and reenacted under my own supervision and presented by the leadership of the National Assembly, where community policing, hitherto the reenactment of that police act, have no place in the police act or in any of our laws. We now saw the wisdom in involving community in policing and say that in the police act there should be community policing at the local government level, which should be chaired by the paramount traditional ruler of that local government and the divisional police officers, and as well as at the state level to be co-chaired by the commissioner of police and the paramount traditional ruler in that state. That provision had been made in the police act. It has not been implemented. That is one. Two, why I am not an advocate of state policing is simply this. Assuming we have INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission. Tell me any election that INEC conducted in Nigeria, that opposition party in the governorship election will not win more than 10 seats out of 36 states in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There is none. All elections being conducted by INEC, opposition party will win from 1, 10, 15, 16 seats out of the 36 states of the governors of the Federation. Tell me one national election, presidential and National Assembly election, that is conducted by INEC in Nigeria, that opposition will not win over 100, 150 to 160 seats of members of the National Assembly. It has always been like that. Either ABGA, either PDP, either what AA, and what have you. You will see opposition party in one way or the other winning more than 40-30% of the seat in the National Assembly. But I ask you today, is there any election conducted in Nigeria either by PDP governor, either by ABGA governor, either by APC governor, that the local government council chairman, two are won by opposition? The answer is no. Tell me, in the legislative arm of the local government, tell me one governor that conduct election in Nigeria that parliament, legislators at the local government council win 2% of the seat of the councillors in that local government. None. Then that is national election. You have opposition winning. State election, you have governors sitting down to make sure that seats are allocated and declared in favor of either their political parties or friends and family. That is a civil power donated to governors. They militarize it and use it the way they want.
But what is then if you are giving this narrative, what then is the solution?
But let me learn.
Yeah.
If you give them state INEC, Placid, or state independent electoral commission, and they misuse it without seeing any resemblance of democracy in the election of public office holders at that level, whereas at the national level you can see, how can you trust such a person with the power to control AK-47? What do you think they will do with those powers if you give them? If you give them the power...
So what then is the solution?
The solution is...
If you are against the solution...
Okay, the solution is this. Let us continue to ensure that proper funding is being made to all the security agencies. Fund the police well, fund the military, army, air force, navy very well, fund the national security, the DSS, the NIA, the everything, fund them, give them relatively, accurately what they want to perform. Ensure they account for the money given to them instead of continual purification of security agency, creating this agency today, creating that agency today, whereas the one that have been created are not adequately funded and they are not adequately oversight to account for the little fund that is voted for them. It doesn't make sense.
Honorable, because we need to wrap up this conversation, the question I asked you about your party, the promises is made,
yes,
and the performance that we're saying, and there is a growing
what kind of fulfillment of promise do you want? Some people may not want to hear this, but I'm not against governors, but let me categorically say this. This man, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, come into power. The day he came into power, he made a bold statement that no president have ever done that in the past. I am no more subsidy. That was not only a statement. He practicalized and demonstrated that by ensuring that removal of subsidy have equally instigated the revenue generation upward. He does not stop there. State that used to take 4 billion in a month when there was subsidy now take between 10 to 12 to 14 billion. Why are Nigerians not asking, why are state assemblies of the Federal Republic of Nigeria not questioning the performance of their governor if the revenue given to each state has been tripled by the effort of Mr. President in fulfillment of his campaign promises? Why are the governors not justifying that? Look at the program federal government have. They have infrastructural program, roads, buildings, hospitals, and what have you. In addition to that, they come up with people-oriented policy of giving loan to students, assisting families in intervention to get what they eat in form of some allowances, instigating and helping small and medium-scale enterprises to grow. That is what they are doing with the federal government allocation. Now the state governor, that you have 4 billion, now you have 12 billion, 13 billion in a month. Yes, are the infrastructure being done by some, not all, some of those states, commensurate with the money they receive as a result of removal of oil subsidy? Why are we keep blaming one person when people are receiving money from that one person? That's the federal government. That's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to the state. He can decide to suffocate them by not releasing. We have seen that during Obasanjo, when he was a governor in Lagos. His subvention was not even given to him. Then this man is a Democrat, say that, yes, I have removed oil subsidy. The revenue have increased. and I have increased your state allocation, what is it happening in the various states of the Federation? Shall tell me, until Nigerians hold their governors accountable to do what Asiwaju is doing at the national level, until me and you and any other stakeholder in Nigeria draw line and become very fearless to speak to the governors to replicate what they are doing with the increase in the allocation that is being given to them, do not hope that we will have any solution to the problem
Yusuf
that is
Gagdi, we are totally out of time on this conversation, but thanks so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Honorable Yusuf Gagdi represents Plateau State in the National Assembly.